All right, y'all, how's it going? I was sitting down here. I got to retie some rigs. Last couple of days I've been fishing. I try to do it about every day that I go because if you drag baits long enough, you know that you're going to have nicks and cuts and stuff in your line. So about every trip I swap them out. So I don't know. I'm going to go over a little bit. I know people have asked me about my rigs and stuff like that, and I've gone over a couple times, but I'll go over it again. Now, when I tie these things, there's no real thought involved as far as like measurements and whatnot. So, like this, my leader line, I just stretch it out, pretty much 2 arm lengths worth, and then that's pretty much it. Now, the knots that I use, I guess it's not a very popular knot because I've been trying to figure out what it's called, but I don't know what it's called. It's a snell knot of sorts. But y'all have seen me tie this before, and I don't know how well this is going to focus on this right here, but I'm going to go over anyway. So you just stick it through the eye just like this, about an inch or so, pinch it, and I'll do 5 wraps, then I'll pinch the wraps, and then I'll take the other end of it, and then I'll run it through the back side of the hook, or the hook eye, about another, I don't know, inch or so, 2 inches. Then you pull that line, the rest of your leader line tight, wrap that down. So what you're doing is you're pulling the wraps tight, but you're holding the rest of the leader line. So I don't know if it's going to focus all that great, but anyway, I just do 5 more wraps. All right, then I just take this piece here, it's sticking out of the top of the hook, pull it all the way through, and then you just tighten it down. And that's a good knot. It's not one of them what they call a knotless knot or not like that. It's not going to come loose on you. It's going to be pretty good. But the biggest thing we got going on right now, these fish that are they're spawning, well, they're getting ready to spawn. But what they end up doing is, and I know, a lot of you guys have been catfishing for a while, you know this. When they get like that, they start getting real sharp teeth, and they actually get longer. As evidence of my hand from the last couple of days. They will flat wreck some gear. So that's what I have fished with people that they're using this. If it ain't if it hasn't broke off, they're gonna keep running it. I don't do that because you just never know when that fish of a lifetime is gonna hit. So I always make sure my knots are good. I always make sure my leader line's good. I always make sure the knots between the leader line and my main line is good. Which brings me to another point on the swivels. Okay, so these are the ones I just went out. These are the swivels that I use, which I use different types as well, but these are the ones that I am using currently. But the problem with this is if you're dragging baits, or even if you're anchor fishing, you're fishing in a spot where you have a lot of rock, I'll say a lot of rock for sure. But anyway, what you'll get is right here on the, I don't know if it'll pick it up. This camera don't like to focus too close. Anyway, where you tie, okay, you're going to get little nicks on it. You're going to get nicks and burrs right there where that line's going to sit, and that's just because, like for me, I'm dragging it through rocks or hard cover, whatever. And what I've noticed that if I try to reuse them, it's not so bad, but as that knot of yours swivel, kind of moves back and forth if you're fighting a fish, well, it's going to end up cutting that line. It's going to cut your knot. So unfortunately, even though these are really good swivels, they're better than your regular barrel swivels. I get rid of them. I tried to file them down, stuff like that, but even that in itself will cause little burrs to make it cut your line or wear your line out. Especially if when them cats start rolling, well, it's gonna roll your knot on these swivels here. So like I said, unfortunately, I got to swap these out pretty much almost every time. Sometimes I can save a couple, but most of the time I cannot. But yeah, outside of that, it's just like I said, my snell knot, got the tag end trimmed a little bit. I come down, whatever it is, and then I love these floats, these EVA floats that Ironside Catfishing is where I get mine from. I think there's somebody else that's selling them now too, and I think Whisker Seeker has a type that they sell as well, but I get it from Ironside. John's a pretty cool dude. Me and him actually, we came up with this color. I kind of like it a lot. But all I do is just, because you know me, I always run my floats, but I'll run it probably, I guess that's about, well, let me see, that's probably about 4 or 5 inches from the hook. and then I peg it. That's pretty much it. That's the whole simple setup. Now, everybody asks about the length of my leader line, which is, basically all I do is I stretch this arm out and I come back to pretty much where my edge of my shoulder is, and that's it. I'll cut it right there, and that's what I use. That's, you know, like I say, most people, it's, if I had to guess, it's probably, which I think I've measured it before, and it was like roughly between 38 and 40 inches long. And I use this all year. And I know I talk to people that all the time, they'll change the leader they use, and that's fine. You know, I mean, it's obviously whatever you have confidence in, whatever you feel you need to be doing at the time, because the way I do things, you may not always, you know, you may not like what I do, and that's fine. That's what makes this. That's what makes it, you know, this is great, because everybody has a lot of good ideas and a lot of different ideas. And that's what I love about doing what I do, and then looking and learning from what other people do. But I keep it simple, one simple rig the entire time. I'll run this winter, summer, fall, you name it, flatheads, blues, it doesn't matter. And it'll work. But yeah, that was pretty much it. I just wanted to hop on here real quick and put that out. Kind of give you guys an update, and because, you know, tying these rigs are one of my favorite things to do, because it's, you know, you're getting prepped, you're checking everything, so the very next time you hook into that fish for a lifetime, you'll be set up, or you'll have a lot of confidence in what you got. But yes, the big tip on these swivels is check them. Is really check them, and if you think that it's okay, it's got a little burr to it, but it's okay, nope, get rid of it, or figure out some way to, I guess, clean that up the best way. I've thought about using like some really fine sandpaper. Maybe that'll work. I don't know, but that was the one thing that I've noticed, and I've actually had line break. Oh, and I meant to tell you too, one more thing. So you guys may think I'm crazy, but if you've ever had to break, you know, 40, 50, you know, pound mono, this works for mono. Braid, you're on your own on that. But anyway, I used to run well, okay, so I'll say this real quick. So when I attach my leader line to my swivel, I use a basic fisherman's knot. I use 5 to 6 wraps, and this is 80-pound mono, so it sticks pretty good. I know there's a lot of other knots out there that people use, but when I tie my main line to the other side of this, I run a polymer knot. Okay, so a polymer knot in itself is a good strong knot, but what I've figured out, because when I would get hung up, you know, that line is pretty tough to break anyway, but it breaks pretty much anywhere. You know, if you've got a strong knot here, it may break. You know, if you got 150 yards of line out, well, it may break 75 yards up. So then you got all that line out there. Well, anyway, so what I've found, which I've used polymer knots all the time, is that if I run my main line here on the swivel with a polymer knot, and if I get hung up, now it's still tough to break. It's still tough to break, but it breaks right here at the knot, and so I don't lose any line. I don't have, you know, several feet of line, or, you know, like I said, 70 yards of line still laying out there in the water. Every time I've got hung up and I've had to break off, it's always been at the knot. Now, there's two things why that happens. Okay, so a polymer knot is basically it's a tension knot, right? So the harder you pull it, the tighter it's going to get. Well, unlike fluorocarbon, which the polymer knot is a really good knot for, because it almost turns it into a plastic, you know, the harder you pull it, where mono will actually cut itself once it gets that tight. So, and you may think, okay, well, why would I want to run that knot if it gets so tight that it actually cuts itself? Well, if you catch a fish and it breaks at that knot, then you've done something wrong. That means you have no drag, or you have nothing. So the biggest thing is I don't like breaking off and then, you know, like I say, it breaks off in my hand, or it breaks off 10 feet behind the boat and I've got a bunch of line laying out in the water. I don't like doing that. But like I said, it breaks right there at the swivel. That's what 40-pound, you know, mono main line. Like I said, you braid guys, good luck. You're going to pull whatever it is in, or you're just going to have to cut the line. I don't know. But that's just something, and I know it sounds weird that, you know, you think, okay, well, it's just going to break at the knot, but I promise you, it'd be a heck of a fish, you know, and you would have to have such tight drag, you know, to make all that happen, because it's a struggle for me to even, you know, break this line when I'm hung up. But like I said, every time it does break, it's right there at the knot. So yeah, that's just a few things that I wanted to kind of go over. You know, of course, had people ask me, so hopefully answered a couple questions there. So yep, still using the, you know, the triple thread hooks. I love them. They do great. They're perfect for me. I did talk to a bank fisherman that he fishes, he fishes off the bank quite a bit, and he tried these triple thread hooks, and he said they didn't work out for him. I don't know what his setup is. I don't know what what he's doing as far as, setting a hook or whatever. He says he was just letting the fish pull it and load up on it, and they kept coming unpinned. I don't know. I just, and I know a lot of other people that have changed these hooks and love them. But they, I don't know, maybe too soft of a rod. I don't know. There's a whole lot of factors that cause that to happen. I mean, even with me and my suspended rod, I've changed hooks on that so many times, I can't even count. And I just, ended up sticking with the triple threats, but I still lose some of the fish that get hooked up. But I think that's just because it's, suspended rod. But it is what it is. But yeah, so I think that covers pretty much everything I wanted to say. Go ahead, I got all this stuff that I use, where I get it from, all that stuff linked in the description, so go ahead and check that out if you want to know where to get it. Some of the things that you get does help me, but more so it's a code that helps you. So go ahead and check all that out. And like always, I appreciate you watching this one. I'll catch you on the next one.